Why did Kiyotaka Ayanokoji, literally the master of staying perfectly under the radar, just spend a massive amount of his own private points on top-tier, incredibly expensive kitchen knives for a first-year girl he barely even knows? Like, bro, if you watched this anime episode and thought it was just a weird, kind of comedic cooking detour to get Pseudo a partner, I need you to pause right now. Because beneath the surface of Tom Yum Goon and Little Apple Bunnies, we just witnessed one of the most calculated psychological tests in the entire series. For a guy whose entire personality is blending into the background, drawing this much attention to himself is a massive, massive red flag. So to understand why this happened, and to truly grasp this absolute cold 40 chess move, we need to go back. We need to look at the invisible wars being fought right now that you probably missed on your first watch.
Ayanokoji just outsmarted everyone again. Okay, let's just dive right into exactly how Ayanokoji does this, because what we have here is an absolute cinema breakdown of the hidden motives, the sheer economic warfare, and the psychological traps going on right under our noses. This isn't just about finding partners for a special exam anymore. No, this is about survival. It's a question of who cracks first under extreme pressure, who gets blood dry of their resources, and who is pulling the strings from the shadows while everyone else is running around panicking. I am genuinely so excited to talk about the deeper emotional truths and the hidden details most viewers completely missed this week. So grab a seat, get comfortable, because you are about to see a literal masterclass in manipulation unfold. But wait, before we even get to the cooking stuff, we need to look at the hidden tension right at the start of the story. We have this seemingly innocent quote from the first year, Takuya Yagami, directed at Kushida. He says, "I still remember him because he was super duper smart." Now, what's really interesting about this specific moment is the absolute panic it must have sent straight through Kushida's brain. Yogami approaches her, acting like a friendly underclassman from their middle school days, completely invading her personal space. And Kushida, being Kushida, immediately plays the angel. She claims she didn't really pay attention to other students and just kept to herself, but what she wants people to think and what she actually feels are two totally different things. Here's the thing. She spent months building this untouchable, perfect reputation, and a single sentence from this kid could burn the whole thing to the ground. She is low-key terrified. She knows her middle school past is a ticking time bomb. Yogami remembering anything about her is a massive existential threat to the entire life she has built here. And while Kushida is fighting ghosts from her past, the rest of the second years are facing a very real, very present nightmare. Let's look at the numbers for a second and see how this builds the tension. The first years, specifically those under Hosen's control, are completely weaponizing the exam rules against them. Pseudo and Ayanokoji try to negotiate a standard partnership, and the first years drop a ridiculous demand on them. 500,000 private points, not 50,000, 500,000 points, just to partner up. They know the second years have the absolute most to lose here. If the second years don't find a partner, they face immediate expulsion, period. The first years, on the other hand, are sitting pretty, totally carefree, using Hosen's brutal extortion tactics to squeeze the desperate upperclassmen for every single point they have. If they fail to pay up or find someone else, they are gone, cooked, expelled forever. The stakes just skyrocketed. Okay, but here's where Ayanokoji shines. He doesn't panic. He does the math. And this brilliantly illustrates why Ayanokoji is so terrifying. He removes all emotion from the situation and breaks it down purely by the numbers. Look at the math we have here. If they succeed in the exam, the absolute maximum reward is 50 class points. Over time, if you convert that to private points, the class would earn just over 2 million. But to secure just 5 students at Hosen's extortion rate of 500,000 points each, that costs 2.5 million private points up front. If Class D actually throws money at this problem, they are mathematically putting themselves in the red. It is a guaranteed net loss. So Ayanokoji instantly realizes that buying off Hosen's goons is a total trap perfectly designed to systematically bankrupt them. They have to find another way, which ironically leads them straight into another trap. So the crucial point is that this total refusal to pay the extortion fee is exactly what forces them right into the hands of Ichika Amasawa. She literally overhears them struggling and swoops in from Class 1A, offering to partner up. But Amasawa doesn't just say yes and call it a day. She drops these totally eccentric, ridiculous hurdles on them. First, she says she'll only partner with a guy who is physically powerful. When they try to brush that off as a weird joke, she pivots to demanding a delicious homemade meal. And finally, the kicker? She demands they buy her exclusive, expensive cooking tools. But wait, notice how she specifically targets Ayanokoji here? Pseudo is the one desperate for a partner, right? And Pseudo is the one who meets the physical criteria perfectly. But she locks her eyes dead on our boy. She clearly knows something the others don't, and she is intentionally, methodically dragging Ayanokoji out of his carefully crafted comfort zone. We really need to pause here, because this is where the absolute genius of Amasawa's test truly shines. We have a list: a cutting board, a chef's knife, a bowl, a whisk, and a petty knife. When Ayanokoji points out that he already has cooking supplies in his room, she shuts him down immediately. No, she wants a set exclusively for her. Bro, this is not about the cooking. These are incredibly expensive premium brands. She isn't just asking him to make dinner, she's invading his sanctuary. By stepping into his spotless room, forbidding him from using his phone to look up recipes, and making him spend his own private points on tools only she can use, she is trying to establish total psychological dominance. It's a power play. She is testing his obedience, his patience, and his resources. She wants to see exactly how far she can push the supposedly unremarkable Ayanokoji before he finally snaps. And how does our boy respond to this insane pressure? Absolute perfection. The dish she reveals she wants is tom yum goong, Thai food. Completely out of nowhere, Ayanokoji is in a massive bind here. He told her his cooking isn't anything to write home about. He wants to look like a completely mediocre, perfectly average student. But at the same time, if he fails this ridiculous test, Studio doesn't get a partner and faces potential expulsion. So he has to thread the needle perfectly. He creates a tom yum goong that she admits is actually pretty decent, complete with little apple bunnies. He literally carves little apple bunnies. The White Room masterpiece, a supreme genius, carving fruit. You literally cannot make this up. He reveals just enough quiet competence to pass her impossible test and secure the partnership, all while playing the role of the dutiful, obedient underclassman. It's a total masterclass in controlled capability. He gives her exactly what she wants, but nothing more. But right as she leaves, dropping the massive bomb that she's only doing this because he bought all that expensive stuff, Ayanokoji drops an internal monologue that completely changes the trajectory of everything. This is our midpoint shift, guys. We know there is a White Room infiltrator among the first years, so Ayanokoji's logic kicks into overdrive. If Amasawa actually is the infiltrator, she would logically have hidden something in his room while she was there, or, more importantly, she would have partnered with him directly to keep him close and monitor him. But she didn't. She partnered with Pseudo instead. This is a massive audience mirror moment. We are trying to figure out her identity right alongside him. Is her picking Pseudo just a confusing misdirection to throw him off her scent, or does it logically confirm she's not from the White Room at all? He can't be 100% sure, and honestly, that paranoia is completely justified. Just when you think the mind games are over, we transition into the absolute peak hype of the breakdown. We zoom out from Ayanokoji's dorm room directly into a full-blown proxy war between the entire classes. Look at this escalation timeline. Word gets out that Ryuin from Class C is offering 10,000 points to first years just to reject Class A. Then it aggressively scales up. First years are suddenly leveraging multiple offers, demanding 100,000 points up front and another 200,000 later. Ryuin's arrogance is absolutely off the charts here. He thinks he's untouchable, just throwing caution completely to the wind and openly engaging in aggressive bribery to win over the first years. He's actively trying to burn Class A to the ground. And what does Ayanokoji do in response? He quietly tells his contacts to send a message to the first years. He is prepared to match whatever Ryuin offers them. Now, his allies are completely freaking out. They think matching these insane bribes is going to blow up in their faces and push the costs higher and higher until Class D is completely bankrupt. But let's look at the actual funds being spent, because this is where Ayanokoji reveals he is playing an entirely different game. Ryuin is out here frantically spinning his wheels, offering massive bribes, draining Class C's perceived funds, actively trying to force Class A into a bidding war to drive up prices. Ryuin thinks he's a total genius for attacking a rival class's reputation with raw cash. But Ayanokoji, he instructed his people to match the offers, sure, but never actually sign the partnerships. Ayanokoji spent funds? Absolute zero. Ryuin thought he was playing checkers, but Ayanokoji is out here waging untouchable, zero-risk economic warfare. It is brilliant. I need you to just let this quote breathe for a second, because it is so unfathomably cold. I was never going to spend these pocket changes. I'll wait for when far more class points are being thrown around to finally put them down. No way. He actually said that. Ayanokoji doesn't care about the bidding war at all. He explains that students who can be easily bought with money can be stolen away at any time. They aren't the ones who matter. His fake bidding war is beautifully designed to do two things at once: bleed Ryuin's momentum entirely dry and force the first years to show their true colors. He's literally using Ryuin's own aggressive strategy as a free measuring stick to test the loyalty and greed of the entire first-year class.
This has massive future implications for the story. He is gathering crucial data on who can be trusted and who can be bought, all without spending a single point of his own money.
But while Ayanokoji is out here playing grandmaster chess with the class economies, we have to bring the emotional tension back down to reality. Let's shift over to the cafe, where Horikita is having a secret meeting with the first year, Nanase. Now, a quick viewer reward moment for you eagle-eyed fans. Notice how Hiyori Shina is quietly reading in the back corner of the cafe during this scene? She is observing everything, which heavily implies future alliances or potential betrayals. Nothing here is an accident, bro. But focusing on the table, Horikita came here to do the right thing. She wants to bypass all this messy bribery and extortion entirely and just propose a clean, mutually beneficial alliance where both classes help their lowest achieving students pass without exchanging any points at all. It's logical, it's exactly what a good leader should do. But there is a massive obstacle standing directly in their way, the wall of Hosen. And then Nanase drops a devastating stakes reminder right on the table. Right now, there are 15 students in Class 1D who are severely struggling to find partners. 15. Think about how this connects perfectly to Horikita's internal growth. Think about Season 1 Horikita. She would have gladly left the weak and struggling students behind, viewing them as nothing but useless dead weight. But now, she's actually fighting for them. She is acting like a true leader, pointing out that if Hosen continues to foster this toxic atmosphere of selfishness, where the strong just extort the weak and the struggling students are left to drown, the entire class morale will completely fall apart. It's a massive disadvantage for their future. Horikita is practically begging to finalize these 15 partnerships right here, right now, to save both of their classes from absolute ruin. Okay, but here's the thing. Nanase delivers the harsh, undeniable emotional truth. She says, "I believe your proposal is an excellent one and I would love to accept it, but Hosen would never agree without payment." Even though Horikita's plan wouldn't affect Hosen negatively in any way whatsoever, he simply won't allow it. Why? Because Hosen rules through absolute self-interest, violence, and pure intimidation. If an action doesn't actively line his pockets with points or stroke his massive ego, he crushes it without a second thought. A mutually beneficial, zero-point alliance is literally impossible in Class 1D as long as Hosen is the one dictating the strategy. He would honestly rather watch his own classmates fail and get expelled than agree to a fair, equal deal. Which brings us to the emotional landing of the story. Horikita closes her eyes and says, "I see now. So that's how he is." You can literally feel the heavy realization washing over her in this moment. She came into this meeting hoping for logic, hoping for a clean diplomatic solution to save 15 innocent students. But what this moment cost her is her hope for a peaceful resolution. She finally understands that Hosen is a ruthless dictator who simply cannot be reasoned with. He can't be bargained with. Diplomacy has officially failed. She realizes that to beat a monster, they might just have to let their own monster off the leash. This realization perfectly sets up a brutal, unavoidable, impending clash. The polite conversations are officially over. If Class D wants to survive the special exam, they are going to have to go right through Hosen. And that leaves us with the biggest unresolved threat of all. How in the world will Horikita, Ayanokoji, and the rest of Class D break through Hosen's absolute dictatorship before the exam destroys their class? Will Ayanokoji have to finally step out of the shadows and deal with Hosen himself? Is Amasawa actually clear of White Room's suspicion, or did she just play the greatest psychological misdirection trick ever? And when is Ryuin going to finally realize he's being played like a fiddle in this fake bidding war? The stakes have literally never been higher, and the consequences of failure here are permanent. Drop your theories below, subscribe to Zero Anime, and I'll see you in the next one.